Hey everybody, I pray this video finds you blessed. So this week I have a chunk of cherry burl that was sent to me, and again this is one of those pieces of wood that kind of got lost in the shuffle of transitioning to my new woodshed. So I have no idea who sent it to me. If you sent me this cherry burl, thank you so very much. It also came with some smaller bits of cherry burl as well. I started this piece hoping that I would be able to turn it without having to use any resin, but like I said, because of those inclusions and also the rim and where the burl was mostly, I would have to turn a lot of it away in order to, you know, completely dry, and that's why there's a lot of this white hazy bubbles coming out through the end grain. And I sprung a leak, so I had to wrap it up with a garbage bag to keep it from leaking out. So a lot of my resin didn't fill some of the larger areas that I wanted to fill. Those hazy bubbles is caused from moisture. It is what happens when the resin heats up, and then it starts to cause that water to boil and turns to vapor, and then it tries to escape through the resin, and then in turn it makes the resin also speed up in curing. So the moisture will cause the exothermic reaction to kind of go crazy and agitate it and make it cure a lot faster. So this didn't cure in 5 days. It only took like 2 days for it to completely cure to where I can put it on the lathe. After all these chips started just flying off because they're not solidly attached to the bowl because of the moisture, I decided just to take my chisel and take care of them because they were flying off in big chunks, and a piece flew off and cut my arm. So be very careful. This whole process from here on out, I was very cautious and just checking the piece as I turned it, because I knew because of the bubbles and because of it not being really good attached to the bowl, that there was a possibility that pieces of resin, bigger chunks of resin would fly off. So just be cautious. I'm putting a mortise in the rim side because I need to get to the back side to fill these holes that the resin originally didn't fill because of it leaking out. Now here you can use the thick set again, or the slow set, the slow hardener. There wasn't a ton poured in this gap, so it wasn't going to cure too fast, and I wasn't crazy concerned about bubbles at this point because I had so many of them in the piece already. And as you can see, I did get a few bubbles, but that was going to be a portion that I was going to turn away anyway. finish for this bowl, I'm using the fast hardener on both coats. And the reason why is I know that I'm gonna have to go back and fill this again. There's multiple little pin holes, even in the burls, the burl part and in the resin, that I filled so many times that every single time I'd go back and sand it or whatever else, a new hole would open up, and I was done. I was done at this point. I just wanted to get it done and just, you know, do my best with what I had to work with. Also, I put a really thick, heavy coat on it on purpose because in my rim, a piece of resin had chipped out, so there was a chunk missing, and I would have to take a lot off in order to make that flush. So what I did is I left the lathe running for about 20 minutes. Like I said, I put a real thick coat, which normally you don't for a finish, but I put a real thick coat and then allowed it to I just stopped it from turning and let it drip down to the area where I need it to fill, and it worked out beautifully. It was one of the only plans that I had during this whole project that actually worked out, but I was able to salvage the rim without having to remove a ton of more resin or wood. The second coat, I actually turned off my camera on accident and didn't record it, so all you see is me covering up my piece with the box. But that's what I do. I leave it running at 50 RPMs, cover it with box, come out 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how cool it is outside, and then shut off the lathe. And that's my second coat is a real thin coat. It's not thick like my first one, and normally I don't put thick coats on them anyway. I would rather add multiple coats versus trying to get it all done with one thick coat, because you will get runs no matter what. It's just gonna run even if you leave the lathe turning until it completely cures. It's just too much. So be careful when you're coating your pieces with resin. You can put way too much on there and you'll have sagging or weird spots in it. Howdy, y'all. I pray you had a wonderful week. This week, this was a challenge amongst a challenge. Now, all of my problems that I had with this bowl were my fault. Because I didn't start with a dry piece of wood, I got a lot of bubbles going on. And I'm a little on the impatient side, and I haven't bought a toaster yet for my shop, and I probably need to do that. And my mold that I made ended up leaking really bad. But anyways, that's what caused all those bubbles. Also because I had casted it upside down, all the air bubbles, and being I'm not using a pressure pot, all the air bubbles got trapped in the rim and the underneath piece. I don't know if you can see them in the pictures that I put close-ups of these air bubbles. They really look cool. There still are some visible pits where the resin didn't completely fill them in flush, but that's kind of how the whole, I don't know, theme of the piece was. So I was like, I'm not gonna get too crazy concerned about it. It's still beautiful, and I can pick it apart with all the little things here and there, but I've chosen to look at those as beautiful features of the burl, and you know, with the resin, and try to just I don't know, fall in love with those bubbles that are in there. I think that just looks really neat. And being that they're ocean colors, which Doug from Faux Barn called him up and I said, pick my colors. I was in the mood to pick colors. And so he picked my colors for me. Thank you, Doug. They are beautiful. He's like, you have to have an ocean cherry burl. And I was like, I agree. Thank you all so very much for watching my video. I pray that it was informative. If nothing else, maybe just what not to do. I pray that your bellies are full of turkey and your heart is full of joy and thankfulness. Y'all have a wonderful week. Take care and God bless. My roosters won't shut up. I'm never gonna get dinner cooked. Alright, I'm gonna have to start throwing rocks. Oh, thanks, Marilyn. Appreciate that. Just, you know, encourage. Shut up. We're gonna have chicken for Thanksgiving. Those chickens. You too.